first two sessions, we went through lots of information related with like introduction to Hadoop and how to data lake, how to build data lake, why you really need to build it. So any questions? Any epiphany or anything, something came to somebody, would like to share? This thing is like too much echo, we are trying to fight with each other, in that hall versus this hall. So I think as we talk about the agenda hourly, and here we have, so what I did, we already talked about initially that now you know about Hadoop, you understand. Then you have understanding of data lake, how you really can build something, how you can understand, how you can take advantage of a data storage as well as data processing framework. Once you have that, next thing comes that what about BI? BI, so I have experience working with companies like Microsoft, and if you really see that they are really in the product digital rocking, even like after 20 years, they are the bread and butter for small to mid-sized companies there. Okay, and then the new age BI. So there is a BI, there is a new age BI. And then just to make this session very interesting, I invited our friends from Zoom Data to have their product demo, because I was sure that by the time I will be talking, you guys must be bored looking at me for several hours. So there will be change in thing, you might see something different. So there will be application demo from Zoom Data. They will be talking about their product and just try to understand the project from a very different perspective, and I'm going to put that perspective before you. So what you really need to see in a BI product. Okay, so here are so many confusing terms, and then what is BI? If we, like, I worked in a company where we were selling the BI product, I worked in a company where we were building the infrastructure where the BI products, one or more BI products are running. So if you think about the business intelligence, it could be really very simple thing, but it could be very huge. It's just depend on what your perspective is and what kind of information you are really trying to process. If you have a very simple chart which just talks about that there are that many users who use Android and there are that many users using iPhone, using that information you can go in Excel and you can create some information, and by the end of the hour, by the end of the 10 minutes, you have some kind of intelligence out of it. It's like application of intelligence is really very different here. So what's the difference between big data analytics and business analytics? And then we have something called big data versus Hadoop. So if somebody would like to chime in, right, would like to share something, their thought, it's an open workshop, if you would like to say something, what you really think about these terms, just to explore your idea. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we have Arlene. Yeah.
So I'll comment. So I used to work for Cloudera and have a long database background. But when I first got to Cloudera, which is a Hadoop company, right? I don't know if that's obvious or not, but I had this misperception initially that big data equaled Hadoop. And it didn't take too long, being in sales, going out and talking to customers, that I realized that big data means different things to different people. And in fact, the panel just now, the concept of what is big is relative. And so to some people, big data might be their relational database, or somebody else might be a data warehouse, or NoSQL, or Hadoop. So it means different things, and that was a very humbling aha moment I had to go through. They don't always mean the same thing, big data and Hadoop.
Yeah, that, like you said, you put together really worried. The big data is like relative, because we working with, like, at one time the 100 gig was big enough to process it, then 1 terabyte was big enough to process it, and now companies have petabytes of data. Like if you run, like as I mentioned, the scrapping tool which I was talking about, just dump everything you can scan through, you can actually just in 24 hours, you can end up storing about 20 terabytes of data in just, and that is enormous data. Like if you have enough money and resources, just scrap every World Wide Web URL from 3 letter to 8 letter. And then you can spend millions of dollars to get analytics out of it, and you might end up having $1 billion company. You never know what somebody could find, from junk. So those kind of things. So what we are really seeing here, that big data analytics versus business analytics is just like how you are looking into The difference here is that big data analytics, when you are using a tool which can let you explore the size of data you have, not in silos. You have a full view of data. So there are data analytics companies, and then there are big data analytics companies who are creating product and labeling it that, oh, we are actually big data analytics. And I don't know if you guys know who coined this term big data analytics very first time. IBM. So IBM have InfoSphere, they have all these products if you look at, okay, but they didn't market this term really very well, but the company called EMC, they have some product, they marketed this term. If you say, oh, who really owns that big data analytics URL, it's actually owned by a company's EMC. So it's like a different time frame, this term was used different, but now, in end of 2013 and early 2014, this term is really used a little different. So if you look into and how the industry specialist or Gartner, they really define the big data analytics, is a tool when it's using the power of big data framework. So Hadoop is just a framework to process big data. You can actually use Oracle, and Oracle has a really very amazing product line where you can handle big data. Again, it's what size of big data you are really trying to process. So HP has a really very good product, Vertica. It can take care of really very large amount of data, and that's really works very well in organizations where it's really fit for it. But there are organizations who really go heavy volume, where the increase is really very exponential. Like today you had a data, and tomorrow is really exponential within a month. So that's where the analytics application using the power of big data framework is actually termed as a big data analytics tool. So if somebody say, I have a big data analytics tool and I'm gonna be working with Hadoop, you can look into two perspectives, and what those perspectives are, that's we are really going to look further. So the thing is that this is like everybody talk about that intelligence through analytics. So once you have that in your mind, and then you really explore all the definition, that is really sum up together. So I will look into traditional BI landscape. How many of you have saw this slide? It's a very new, about a relative to 1 month old. And if you look into internet, just type Tableau, Gartner, they are just selling this thing, left and right. Because based on Gartner, that Tableau is the golden child of analytics. They already IPO, they already have tons of money, and the product is very well. There is no doubt. And so, but the thing is that is it a big data analytics software? I'm nobody. I'm still, I'm still trying to come up with something. But the thing is that Tableau provide a very nice engine where you can visualize the data, but they are still depend on several other things to process for it. So these are very good because they really put together something where you can get the information on fingertips, but they are depend on somebody else to do processing for them. Can they? Most of the time they are. So I would say that look, Microsoft is there, IBM is there, and there are some competitors coming from back here, and they are really trying to blow these guys away. That's their concept. So just take this picture as a concept that this is what industry really thinks, that if you can sum that information in a way which is very useful to others, you are the winner. Still the processing part is not there. That is coming in next 2015, 2016, where more and more companies are moving towards native, using the power of engines. Right now, everybody, if they are SQL based, they are using the power of underneath SQL engine, whether it's Oracle or HP, using their underneath, or IBM or Microsoft. So in traditional BI just considered these things. You could do reporting, you could do dashboarding, you can do a lot of information with this, and then you can really do a bunch of other things. And here is the conceptual point of view that traditional BI. I think everybody in the room really understand these points, so I'm not going to emphasize it. The emphasis is that the traditional BI was enterprise BI, which is within the enterprise. Even if there are 2 or 3 segments within the enterprise, the BI was done for HR is taking care differently, IT is taking care differently. Just for even the information, if you want to share in between, you really have to go back to the source and then do it. There was no sharing in between because result sets are very different. So that was the key point. Now we are moving away from traditional BI, and again the point comes with the data lake, because in traditional BI everybody has a map of the data. So data was almost far away from its source location. Now when you are talking about Hadoop, where all the data is sitting in one place and everybody has same access to same data, the only difference is the map of that data, a different view of that data. The BI is moving from traditional BI, which we call like new age BI or big data analytics, whatever you really say. So the key here is the ability to understand the various data type. You were doing BI so long with Excel. Excel was very good product. It's still used. There are several plugins available. But the key here is that Excel, when you dump the data, you know what the schema is. Everything is. If I give a jump, if I give a really weird looking data, Excel cannot do it. Then it comes new tools, something like, okay, not only that, these tools can extend the data validity or data understanding through plugins, okay. Not only that, you can clean the data. This is a new BI tools. Previously the assumption is that when you give information to BI tools, they should be able to understand very quickly. No, that's not the way, because we know there is redundant data, there is a garbage data. You should be able to clean it out before really processing it. The processing is done through local rules or built-in rules, but you can buy rules, you can add on rules, and then you can really process it. That's something is part of USBI, and then visualize sizable amount of data with speed, because speed is really very useful here. Like if you look into, and here I will tell you something. Visualization, because if you think about that, what new tools are. Old tools, they were applications, they were installed on your machines. Now the new age tools are using web interface. So what you are really seeing here, there is a very extreme information is coming to the interface, but the processing is all done in back-end servers. Excel, all these, there are several other applications you have to install locally on your machine. And when you install a tool locally on your machine, that's really dealing with the resources on your machine. You can have a machine as fast as possible, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, but you are limited with the resources what you are going to get with that machine. Versus these tools which are running as a web front end, they are using the power of back-end servers, and there are hundreds and thousands of servers running in back-end, how you really build your cluster, and they can harvest the power of that, and they can expedite the results what you are really seeing. So here you see that, so that's why I'm saying visualize sizable amount of data with speed. Now you can really process hundred millions or maybe a billion row of data with really very fast processing, and then you can really see the result. And not only that, the new analytics tools are able to process the number of data points. That is another really very important factor, because when you are dealing with the result set, you are using the browser UI. Browser, it's so a simple process. Now if I go dig further application, browser has its own memory limit. It's just a process running in your operating system what you are choosing. And how you really render as many data points to make it happen. So those kinds of things are really very conceptual, but when we dig and see that what could be a big data analytics solution, that is really very important to understand here. Okay. And not only that, the new SBI has ability to take the results and socialize it. How fast you can socialize those results, because it is very much possible that result set, what I'm really doing it, what I'm really looking into, they might be very useful for others. Up to 3-4 years back, any person who can understand, who can generate these results, they were considered as a genius. These are the one who are the who are the behind this $1 billion profit with this company. Now we are breaking that mold. The person who is looking into the data, he can really understand, he can give better, if he cannot give better than that person, he can actually give the same kind of insight just using. So it means that the information sharing is much more important than keeping with somebody or within some silos and just making a really very bare minimum profits. So socializing the data is a very new thing. You know that social computing, social platforms, social paradigms are coming, and they are bind together with taking that information and socializing at speed of light, speed of internet, as fast you can do. That's where the beauty is. So all those tools already have it. So once we really think about new age applications, Why I put this slide, I have no affiliation with any of these products. I was using this product, but I'm not, what I'm really saying that if you really want to understand the landscape, take these 5 products, get their demo, use them, and that will give you the insight that, okay, what is happening. Excel, which is always there, you can use Tableau, public, download it and see the beauty of it, how it really does it. Data Hero is is another data visualization. They are doing really very good job. Now you look into the Zoom data, like we have partnered here, they will demo their product, but you will see the approach there. It's just gonna blow your mind. If you look into Zoom data product, what's gonna happen? It's a very different approach. Once you visualize it, but visualization is not limited to the tool. You can actually add more plugins and you can visualize the data, adding extra libraries, extra things you have. And then we have a product platform, I work there, and then we build this product, and then we work with several partners. And this is something like Platfora runs natively. So the Platfora BI is a little different, the Platfora uses the engine, which is MapReduce. Platfora runs natively on Hadoop. It means it sits next to Hadoop, reads data directly from HDFS, use MapReduce to process the results, store data in HDFS, and pull that data, store in memory, ring cache. We can use terabytes of cache and then do visualization in memory. And it can actually render almost like 20 to 50 million data points in your browser cache. You will see the results. It's just blown away with it. So there are several ways you can use these products to understand all those things. So now I think so I have so based on these products, it's really very hard to put together everything. But this is something I call it like big data analytics. So we went through BI, then new age BI, and now we are really talking about the big data analytics. So what it is, okay. So here is very first thing line is very important. When we talk about big data analytics, processing large amount of data without data movement. Do not use connectors directly. If you are using connectors, send your request to data. So for example, I will give an example. Excel can talk to HDFS through a scoop connector, and it can run a SQL query. So if you have a HDFS where you have hundreds of millions of raw data there, you can use a scoop as a connector, and now Excel uses a scoop connector. You say, give me the list of rows where something equals to something. SQL is going to take your request over the scoop channel, send that request back to the HDFS. Now, the Hadoop data job tracker will take that request, convert to a MapReduce job. That job will run in HDFS. Out of based on your request, data will be calculated. Now the result set is available. Now the result set is going to be piped through from HDFS to coming to your SQL. Think a scenario. You are processing 1 billion line. Your result set is 500 million line. Request went really very well because you said give me the list something which result. Now in order to see that data on SQL, you really need to pull that 500 million lines on a wire to back to these Excel. And now here is the problem comes. For 100,000, for 500,000, it was amazing. Now things are growing away, in different proportion. And that's what really comes that you should be able to do it. If you can have a big fat pipe, there is a fiber optics cable between your laptop where Excel is running and your server, you are good. But if there is no fiber optics, you have a 10 gig Ethernet, you know that pulling 500 million row, and if they have 100 column, you can go, you can have your coffee, you can have your dinner, maybe you can sleep and come back tomorrow. You definitely have data back there. Okay, so when I say avoid data connectors, if possible, there are two ways, because how you are really doing, because there are very smart way to do things, and the smart people are doing really very differently. So that's one way you have ability to understand vast amount of data types and data compression, because Hadoop stores data most of the time compressed, because if you have a text file, just normal text file, you can get almost, sometimes you can get 80% compression. So definitely everybody wants to store compressed data. Now you are pulling data, you really have ability to store, understand the at least minimum Hadoop compression logic algorithm, so you can decompress and read the data. And ability to process data on a variety of processing frameworks. You can actually push data if it's MapReduce, you could do it MapReduce. If you cannot do MapReduce, can you do on Dermal? Can you do on Spark? This is the beauty of, there are new tools coming and very soon, like there is a company working and very soon they are going to bring their product where you can actually use either MapReduce or you can use Spark in same cluster. Like what we learn all that MapReduce thing is good. Okay. And finally, the thing is that distributed data processing in memory and in-memory visualization. That's like something, so there is a company called Oxdata, O-X-D-A-T-A. They are building really very nice, this machine learning algorithm where do everything in memory. And if you think about, if I have a 10 terabyte file which I really want to process it, I really need a 10 terabyte lens, I really need 10 terabyte RAM to load that data in memory and then process it. If I don't have that much RAM, I'm gonna be getting hit by disk I/O because I have to read data load from disk I/O, and disk I/O, which means what kind of disk I have, 10,000 RPM, 15,000 RPM, or 7,000 RPM, which is very common. So those considerations are always there. What if I remove everything and I use in memory here? So those things are always there. So just to, so applications, so if I really, now we go one more level, where we really talk about business intelligence applications on Hadoop. When I say Hadoop, it means applications is running on Hadoop natively. It has access to HDFS as native. It reads files like anybody else. It can read file as a flat file, not by using any plugin top of it or any like a Hadoop ecosystem app like Hive or Pig or HBase or Cassandra, anything like that. Okay, it can read data from HDFS, it can put results back on HDFS. So anybody else can, any other application can use it, and those results are available for other jobs so that there will be no data redundancy, which we are really trying to avoid from data warehousing model. So that's kind of thing, once we have it, and after data processing, application can visualize result data without significant pre-processing. That's another thing. Because lots of these tools, they really do pre-processing to the data. So that's where the key here is that you can actually do all that visualization in really very quick. So finally, now I will invite Arlene and William from Zoom Data to demo their product, which is like a business intelligence tool. So they're gonna be demoing it, and by the end of this hour, we're gonna be available for QA. So feel free to next 30 minutes they're gonna be demo, and then we will be taking your questions, etc. So please give a big round of applause for Arlene and William.
Good afternoon. We're just going to switch projection here. So as Akash said, thank you. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. My name is Arlene Kapsamalis. I'm from Zoom Data. My colleague here is William Lindner. And while I'm just pulling that up, let me put in my password. So a little bit about Zoom Data. First of all, how many people here are already working with, I missed the morning, how many people are working with BI on any sort of big data or Hadoop already today? A couple people? Oh, okay. So it looks like about maybe a quarter. And what kind of BI tools are you using, just so I have some perspective? In-house developed tools? Anyone else? Cognos? Business objects? What's on the back end? Informatica? OneTricks?
We have Tableau and ODI.
Tableau and ODI? ODI.
SAS, R.
SAS, and oh, you're using R for modeling and stuff. Okay, great. Good. So, listen, there's a wealth of products out there to use the term liberally, BI, right, in the BI world. And a lot of them are traditional, what we would also agree with Akash, traditional BI tools. There's no shortage of options out there, and they're great at what they do. But the world has changed. So our company is a year and a half old, and not so many years ago, we would not have started our company because we thought that there were already plenty of great tools to select from. But because things have changed on the back end and on the front end, suddenly now there's a world that we live in where those previous companies, even Tableau is a 10-year-old company today, right? They developed and architected their product pre-Hadoop, and even before NoSQL took off. So there's been this disruption and innovation on the back end. Before, all you had was relational databases and ED data warehouses. for structured information. And you were kind of SOL when it came to anything else, right? When you put it in a file, it was a blob. So all that disruption has taken place over the past 5 to 8 years on the back end. There's also been a lot of disruption on the front end. Used to be just client server, for example. Now we have more power in our pockets than NASA had to put men on the moon originally, right? So we have smart mobile devices, we have touch. Google and Facebook want to make sure that augmented reality and wearable devices like Google Glass are going to be the next frontier, and we'll figure out a way to make that important in the enterprise. So there's a lot of innovation on the front end. We have modern browsers today, and as Akash rightly said, you know, we want to use the power of the web. And so at Zoom Data, we did start the company because, frankly, there weren't any other tools prior to that were taking advantage of all of that innovation and disruption, both the back end and the front end. So that's what we're about. We're a next generation. I would add another category to his. We're a next generation big data analytics company. And it's one thing to store all that data. And for those of you who went to the panel session over lunch, you know, I think I heard that message loud and clear. It's one thing to store all this information and be able to process it, say in a Hadoop cluster like Cloudera. But so what if you can't do anything with it? And the ocean's full of water. But if you can't do anything on the ocean or with that water, so what? And that's the beauty now of big data, is to be able to take that data that you've gone through the effort and expense of collecting and make it valuable or actionable. So I'm going to show a demo. Let's first go, William, to our website. And I'll take a few minutes. William's the engineer, so if you ask anything really hard, I'm going to punt to him. But I've got a window already open. Okay. So let's go to the, I'm going to just take a moment and go to the architecture slide of Zoom Data, because this also ties. How many people sat through the panel over lunch? So there's something that we're firm believers in at Zoom Data, and that is you've made this investment in building on a cluster. Take advantage of the compute power on that cluster. Almost everybody else is going to take the question that your users are going to pose through their BI tool of choice, and they're going to copy that data and move it into their platform. There's an expense to doing that. Why not do the opposite? So in Zoom Data, what we do is here's the client. The client's going to, you know, execute a query essentially right under the covers. In Zoom Data, we're going to take that question, and we don't process it in our server. We're going to move the question to the data on your cluster. It's a very clever way of going about this, because now, again, you've got that compute power. Why duplicate the data? You inherit storage costs. You have an extra platform and environment that you have to manage. You add added data security risks. There's a big problem. And oh, by the way, we are talking about big data. So if you have to move massive amounts of data, that's expensive. But how do you process all that unless you do get that fight? You know, you do make a big investment on the hardware side of things. You've already done that on the back end. And so that's very different about why, when I demo, you're going to see really fast performance, at least to the human eye, or visualizing even billions of rows of data. And so to your users, they're going to get impatient. They're going to get impatient. I think Apple and Google and a lot of the companies like them have spoiled us in a couple of ways. One is we expect things to be fast. We've become a very impatient species. So it's got to be fast. The second thing is it's got to be intuitive. I mean, I bet all of your mothers or grandmothers know how to use Google Earth. But did they go to training? No, it's really intuitive, right? And so similarly, we're trying to also solve that problem so that your data can be valuable to all of your business users, not just to you as a little bit more technical than the average employee in your company. So I just wanted to spend a minute on the architecture. It's an important distinction, I think. But should we go into the demo? All right. Okay, so we're on the front page here of Zoom Data. And the first thing is, when you come in here, this is a cluster that we've already got some data sets set up. And the first role I'm going to take on is, so I've got some snapshots of some dashboards that we've already built and some data that we've already connected to. The first thing I want to do is I want to put on my developer hat. I'm going to have two roles today, a developer role, and then I'll go in as an end user. But as a developer, the first thing that I'd want to do when I download Zoom Data is I'd want to go to connect to my data. So we have a connector studio. You heard Akash talk about data connectors. We do provide a series of pre-built data connectors. Now, the other thing I would suggest that you think about in your environments is I suspect Unless you're a relatively new company, your data is probably in multiple sources, right? You probably don't have everything in Hadoop or in one source of truth yet. And so having a tool that provides connectors to a variety of different data stores is going to be important. So you'll see we've got a list, oh thanks, you made big, a set of different sources up here, right? So we've got, on the Hadoop side, we've got a native connector to Impala and Search. I'll talk about those shortly. But also CSV files, the suite of Amazon products, people are moving to the cloud. We've got NoSQL DB, Splunk, and this list grows. We've got Spark coming out next Friday, a connector to Spark, because the innovation is continuing to take place. So what I would encourage you is you're evaluating different BI options. Make sure you pick a tool that's flexible and extensible, if not by you, at least by the vendor, and what's their history of extending that, because that innovation is continually moving forward. So in our Connector Studio, we're going to go and connect to some data. So if I have a Cloudera cluster and I want to use Impala, which is their SQL on Hadoop project, then I click on that Impala, and you provide some basic information. Point to that data, some login credentials, perhaps some timestamp data, and you're going to provide some basic information to establish that connection. So again, this is what the developer goes through. The second thing I would do is once I set up that connection, is I go in and manage the fields. Now by default, Zoom Data is going to try to take some of this work off your hands. We're going to grab the field IDs or the column labels, and you can and put them in there for you. You can label them to more user-friendly column headings, for example, and we will have made a best guess as to what the attribute or the data type is. You can change that. Do you want to make the field visible? Maybe it's a field that should not be visible for some reason or other, right? Or you're setting up a connector to a set of data, and once the class of the users are going to be just entry-level people, and the other is going to be the executive staff. So you might want to have different fields visible for different sets of users. And then you can also start to plug in some formulas. You maybe going to provide some formula options to your users. So this is, again, you're setting it up for the users here. Once we've gone through the effort of checking the fields themselves, the next thing that we would do is we need to pick some visualizations to go with those connectors. In Zoom Data, we've, again, tried to make this extensible and pluggable. And this is another area where there's been all of this innovation on the back end with Hadoop, with NoSQL, right? There's also a lot of really exciting innovation going on in the world of visualization. How many people here are familiar with D3? Okay, so some. So I'm going to show you that, thanks William. William is actually the manager of our front-end engineering, so I'm talking about his world. But there's all this innovation going on in the world of data visualization or data art. And just like open source software has been good for the community at large, there's open source galleries for data visualizations. And one of the most popular ones is this D3JS for JavaScript, D3JS site, and anyone can go there, and people who build incredible data visualizations are often donating their visualizations into code, the JavaScript code behind it, to these different online galleries. And there's a bunch of them, by the way. D3 just happens to be one of the more popular ones. And from here, again, for example, I want to show you a chord diagram. Do I pull up the Michael Bostock's? There's a gentleman who's prolific in this area. His name is Michael Bostock. He works for the New York Times. And we borrowed one of his chord diagrams for some work we were doing for a client of ours. 2 years ago, he built this particular chord diagram that shows the flow of traffic between European countries during the Euro debt crisis. And they used that in the New York Times. We use that for one of our clients who wants to visualize data flow within a website. They want to know where people are going and how they're flowing through a website. So in Zoom Data, you don't have to wait on us to create new data visualizations for you to choose from. We have some basics. We got the classics, right? We got bar charts and heat maps and word clouds and zoomable maps. But you're not dependent on us because there's all this innovation going on. Using our Visualization Studio, what we were able to do is take that code from D3, copy and paste it into our Visualization Studio editor here, And then you are going to want to have somebody who knows JavaScript and maybe web programming so that you can tweak it as appropriate. And that's what we did for this customer. We tweaked it in a couple of ways. One, we made it interactive. It's not just a static diagram, as I'm going to show you when we become a user, but we made it interactive. Actually, William is already touching on it in the preview window here. So rather than just looking at a static core diagram, when he touches the edges of it, wherever he touched the edge of that diagram, it's then going to spawn another core diagram that shows the flow of traffic from that section of the website. So you can kind of see where people are moving around. And he also had to modify the code to make the connection to that particular data set relevant. But nonetheless, this is one of the things, as Akash was pointing out, is that, and what I heard in the panel over lunch is the more relevant that you can make the visualization of the data, then the more powerful and useful it is that you've actually gone through the effort of collecting that data. Whether it's for healthcare data, empowering the individual, the patient themselves, so that they can make more use of that 15 minutes with the doctor, the patient provided data, or to be able to drill down to take, billions of data points, but to quickly drill down to the relevant information about this lady and her particular visit to the doctor today. And how you do that, going from such massive amounts of data to the actual nugget of valuable diamond data, that's no easy feat in the world of visualization. And no one diagram is going to solve all those needs. So you want to have a lot of choice in the world of visualization.
So we designed our visualization studio to be very flexible. So we can use things like d3.js, or we can use other JavaScript libraries. We commonly use leaflet.js, and you can just add them in to this studio and connect it to your data. So it's very flexible on the front end.
So the two studios as a developer that you're going to work with predominantly are going to be the Connector Studio to connect to your data, and then secondly, the Visualization Studio, if you want to actually have customizable visualizations as opposed to kind of the classics. So any questions at this point about being a developer? Let's go move into our end user role. So as an end user, I would come into Zoom Data, and we have a fictitious data set that we provide when you download Zoom Data, and it's for a fictitious department store. We call it real-time sales. We sell all kinds of products in this store. And what Williams just pulled up here is a single visual. It's a classic, it's a bar chart. And this is actually, I think, in our store we're selling 1 billion items a day. And in addition to having access to the historical sales data, we've got access as well to the real-time data. Sales are taking place right now while we're sitting here in this museum. And if you look closely at the screen, these bars are shifting because it's dealing with both historical and real-time data. How many people care about real-time data today in here? A few? Again, it's coming, right? I mean, everyone's starting to think about it. The sensor data that we heard about, for example. Mostly we've all dealt with historical data, but also having the ability to work with real-time. It is coming. And so in Zoom Data you can do both. But we understand that historical data is very important. So you know what? Maybe I meant to actually take a look at what's happening in my store this morning because we launched a new version of our website, but I was indisposed, I don't know, driving my kids to school or something. But in Zoom Data, I can actually, that's okay that I missed it. I didn't look at the website this morning because I have a data DVR. Just like you got a DVR at home for movies, you got a data DVR here. William just took the button, moved it over to the left, I think, yeah, my left, and now we've gone back in time. And that screen's way too small, but if you could see it, you would see that it was, I don't know, like 4 a.m. this morning that he just moved the bar to. So we data DVR, we want to move back in time. The other thing that's going on is you see 2 sets of bars. And the reason why you see 2 sets of bars is because we have the compare function turned on. And so it gives us perspective. And if you can turn it on or off. But with the compare, you can choose what do you want to compare it to, because perspective is always helpful. I want to compare it to the last time my network was in a healthful state. When was that, right? And then maybe I want to fast forward through time, and we've got a fast forward button down there along the horizontal line, and we can fast forward and find, when something triggered or changed. So being able to go forward and backward through time and see your data shift can be very helpful. Let's see here. Now, something we haven't done at Zoom Data yet, but we're starting to work on, is to go into the future. And you hear a lot about predictive analytics, for example, and what-if scenarios. So some companies do have that technology. We're starting to work on that, and you'll see that soon with Zoom Data. You'll be able to go to the right. But this is one visual. Maybe I don't like bar charts. Maybe I want to switch. So I can change the style easily enough. And we've got lots of different visualizations. William can switch to something other than a bar. There's a heat map. And within here we can drill in. Let's go back to that bar. This is a billion sales transactions that's taking place right now. But you know what? I'm kind of curious. What's that product over there in the red? The colors are sentiment, the customer satisfaction sentiment. But I want to zoom in. So he's going to click on it, and he can pick a different field to zoom in. He might pick, I don't know, what'd you go for? What is it? User income. So he chose user income. And we can continue to drill down, but maybe I just want to see the specific information. So he's going to click on the bar and pick the I for information, and you can see the details. He can go down to the individual transaction level in this case for that particular user income of that particular product category. I think it was rings or something like that probably. But we can quickly go from a billion rows to individual sales transactions. Maybe what I want to do though is I want to export this data. I want to export this data. You can download it into an Excel spreadsheet, or if you like, you can actually do a screen capture. Some people still like to email things around as opposed to just looking at links. So you have both options. There's the screenshot now of that visual, so it's not interactive, right? We want to build out a dashboard. Very easily, we can go down to the ad. We're going to choose a layout for our dashboard. I can go to another data set, in this case real-time sales, and pick out another type of visualization. Williams have all kinds of, there's a pie chart. We can continue to add, build out the dashboard. Maybe add one more, William, and then let's show how to share. So we built out a bit of a dashboard. And now I want to share this, like, oh, you know what? I need to share this with my team or somebody somewhere else or a customer or a partner. By clicking on the share button, we can actually just email a link to somebody rather than having to email attachments. It's kind of nice to get out of emailing attachment mode, I personally think. But you can email attachments. Another thing that you can do is, and Avkash talked to this as well, is more and more people want to, you can use Zoom Data in a browser, that's what we're doing right here. But also, people want to front end their data through a web application. And we live comfortably in both worlds. So I actually, this morning, William and I spent some time at a really exciting company, a digital camera company you might know of here in the Bay Area. And they were thinking just for internal use, but we started talking with them about the ability to provide some reporting capabilities to their resellers. But they would only want to do that through a web-based mode. That's okay. We can live in either environment. And so make sure, again, as you're evaluating your options, go more and more people are going to want both. Maybe they're going to want to run on a tablet. Make sure that you've got something that will support those mobile devices as well going forward. So looks like here did you pull up the share? Oh, embedded. So this is directly from our website. So this is, if you were to go to zoomdata.com, on the demo section of our website, we have some live demos. And you can see there we're embedded just in the website itself. And when we go back to the demo, and he pushes the share button, you're going to see that we actually generate, it's hard to see, you guys are far away, but this little box down here is the embed code. There we go. But this is the embed code that you would give to your web developer to be able to easily embed this in a website, for example. Let's go to the hotel dashboard. So we've got another data set from TripAdvisor. Hotel reviews. Has anybody written a review for TripAdvisor? I hope I don't come up with your review, but we have 250,000 hotel reviews from TripAdvisor that I'll show you. And this is, I love this demo. I used to work for Cloudera actually, and just got so excited. I loved Cloudera, and it was great technology, but then when I saw that people really need the tools to make that valuable, and I met Zoom Data, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to join. But this is running on a Cloudera cluster, and this is using what they call their search technology. This is based on Apache Solr. So just like we've all become so dependent on our Google search boxes, same concept. There's 250,000 hotel reviews in this demo, textual data, but in your world it might be doctor's notes, or it might be call center notes, or it might be documentation, knowledge base, research documents, and in this case it's trip reviews. But we've got a dashboard, and you can see all kinds of visuals here, right? But I've got this search box up here, just like a Google search box, but this is a Solr search box. And let's see, you're going to go on a trip next week, and you want to pick a hotel to go stay in. So what's a word you might look for in hotel review? Oh, you want to look for Hyatt? Okay, I've never done that one. All right, we're going to look for Hyatt, William. So of our 250,000, somebody wrote about a Hyatt. It would appear that out of 250,000, 2,867 people wrote the word Hyatt in their review. So we just, oh, racquetball. I used to, you want to try racquetball? Did you get one? You got one. Did you write that review? And we can tell you exactly which hotel that is too, by the way. The data is from a couple years ago. Smell is another one. I'm going to tell you my favorite. Smell. Okay, William, you know my favorite. Bed bugs. So bed bugs. So notice that the dashboard is updating based on the search. So we're searching. This is not keyword data, right? We're searching through all of the words of these reviews. 250,000. It's a small data set, probably by many standards. Our dashboard's updated, and now what we can do is let's go over here. Let's show the faceted search. Again, what we did here is we took advantage of the technology from Cloudera Search called facets, which is an ability to do additional groupings. And the developer picked certain fields to turn the facets on. So I think in this case it's gender, it's cities, it's income, and William's just picking a few of these different fields to turn on those additional filters, if you will. And again, our visuals are updating, and he could then next come on over to one of these dashboards, and he can then continue to drill down. So we're taking structured data, unstructured data, we're making this very intuitive for users. I mean, pretty much today everyone knows how to use a Google search box, right? And we can fuse that data, not just from Cloudera, but we can even fuse it from another data source. The end user need not know. That's okay, right? In this dashboard, we have different data sources. William, what am I forgetting? I'm trying to respect your time, Akash. Any questions? Yeah. Our connection to Elasticsearch? Yeah. Is it working any differently, William? Do you know?
All right, so let me just pull up the list of connectors. Elasticsearch. Okay, so one of the big advantages of Zoom data is that we treat all of our connectors very similar. So the visualization doesn't need to know where the data is coming from, whether it's SQL or Impala or Elasticsearch. So you can connect to Elasticsearch just from this screen here, and then run the same types of queries and run the same app filters or app dashboards and things like that. So it's very similar to the other connectors. So you can set up the different fields that you want to be searched, and then those can be indexed so that you can use those in your visualization when you search. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Is it on dev? I think this is the demo. Oh, okay.
So here's another dashboard. This goes back to that core diagram and that internet service provider client of ours that's showing the flow of traffic across their website. So here's two D3 visualizations. One is the core diagram, the other is force-directed graph. And this particular company, they're taking, I think it's 9 billion impressions a day of people moving around their website, and this is coming out of a Cloudera cluster as well. And so what we have here, and again, it's kind of hard for you to see, but this is the portal, webmail, magazine, business. These are different sections of their website. You can see when somebody comes into the portal, where do they go mostly? They mostly go to webmail. And it looks like not very many, or I'm not sure which section you hit, but from webmail, very few go to comics, right? And maybe you want to, so maybe your product managers or your analysts want to be able to continue to drill into that. So this is one visualization, and we could drill into the specifics behind this. This is just another visualization over here, a force-directed graph of the same data. But again, different people, it just shows the power of when you have the flexibility of different visualizations to work with. It becomes relevant to us in different ways. And so here, William's just spawning into the colors. You can make the colors indicate certain things, and you can display. In this case, I think we show the percentages when you touch the little dots with your finger or your cursor. By the way, if this is one of those fancy Microsoft Surface screens, if I were touching the screen, this would all work too. It's beautiful in a knock, by the way, with the executives. But we're just, again, showing where people are going throughout a website. And this is because of the extensibility by bringing in some of those visualizations from other open source libraries.
I don't believe that we include these two as in the list of templates right now, but we've had a lot of requests from customers even this week about them, so I'm sure they'll be part of the templates as well too.
Other questions or comments? I want to say thank you again to Akash for letting us come in and demo for you. Secondly, I want to invite you, it's free to download from our website for up to 5 users, and there's no time trial. So have at it, download it. 5 users. There's a couple of different flavors. There's a native version for your iPads if you still like to play on your couch at night. And let us know. We also provide support at this time at no charge through our website. So we welcome your feedback and hope you have a lot of success. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene, and thank you, William. So, who's going to download this thing tonight and gonna be using it? At least one person. Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. That's very good. But for remaining, just check it out and really, because there is a lots of things are going on. Unless you are building your own product, different story. And one thing I would like to add, Zoom data product, if you are a programmer, if you really love to play with the data, how many times you were using Excel or any other product, you really thought, damn, it looks really very good. If there is a way I can modify this visualization. I don't think there is everybody is going to give you a tool where they will tell you how they really want to visualize the data. They will give you option to change color, they will give you option to tweak little here and there, but not a lot. The good thing when these guys are using D3 for visualization engine, you can actually add a lot. You can just go nuts. Just go and use the engine, and you can start churning out the way you really want it. You can extend really very well. That's the power of their tool. And so, from my perspective, I would say that we have concluded this session. So, what's going to be happening? For this, we're going to conclude this session. We will have 30 minutes tea break. Then after we're going to be meeting here at 3:30 to 4:30, and we will be talking about how to create a spreadsheet related with big data for your enterprise. Before you guys go, how about my T-shirt? How it look like? It's good. How about the logo? We are new. It look good. Thank you. And then how about this thing? That's the good one. So if you like, feel free to go and meet my friends, my colleagues over here. Say hello, and you can grab a T-shirt based on your size. And if you would like to once again, if you like us to contact you, if you need any kinds of help, you would like to, feel free to fill that form, because that way at least we know that you really need something. We can contact you. If you don't want us to contact, no problem. You can still go and get a free T-shirt. And then I'm going to be seeing you guys at 3:30. Thank you.